If you've seen The Princess Bride, you know the famous line, I don't think that word means what you think it means. And that applies to Tish James and her ridiculous use of the word baseless.
I would say what she said. But first of all, the decision was based on the Administrative Procedure Act, an arbitrary and capricious act by this agency, an unlawful act. And so too is the indictment. It's baseless. It's nothing more than retribution. Retribution for basically doing my job. For doing my job following a 2-year investigation in a congressional hearing. It wasn't political. It was based on facts and the application of the evidence.
Tish James, let's just say it's the same thing happening to you. They had evidence. They went before a grand jury. And you were indicted. Just like you indicted President Trump, which you are claiming was not political. Folks, this is not one of those shows where I do like body language ghost. I don't know if she's still around, and others that try to break down everything by body language. But she's sure her body language does not convey to me that she actually has any conviction behind what she's saying.
And so at this point in time, we will vigorously defend those charges, those baseless charges. My arraignment, as you know, is next Friday. I visit Norfolk quite frequently. My family is in Norfolk. I love my family. And I will defend these charges. And I want everyone to know that it is completely baseless. And I am totally innocent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Completely baseless. Oh, she loves her family. As if that has anything to do with anything. Oh, yeah, that's right. Her niece or her great niece or grandniece or something like that is living in the property and they're an absconder. They are a fugitive justice from North Carolina. What a family. What a family. Just a reminder that this is, in fact, not baseless because according to the indictment, Tish James was to use the property as her secondary residence and was therefore prohibited for using it as a time-shared or any other shared ownership arrangement or agreement that requires her to either rent the property or give any other person control over the occupancy or use of the property. Now, we understand that a family member of hers is living in there and is living rent-free, which is kind of strange because she herself, on her Schedule E form, had actually claimed this Perone property as income property and even paid taxes on the rental income. So I don't know if she can say this is exactly baseless. But hey, don't worry. Remember, it was her herself. It was Tish James herself who uttered the famous words, the popular words of those on the left. No one is above the law. No one is above the law. And thus, U.S. Attorney Halligan, who brought the case, said, no one is above the law. The charges as alleged in this case represent intentional criminal acts and tremendous breaches of the public trust. The facts and the law in this case are clear, and we will continue to following them to ensure that justice is served. She calls it retribution. We call it justice. I don't care. I want to see Tish James and everyone who weaponized the government against we the people and our representative, Donald John Trump, to be proven that, in fact, no one is above the law. And that means, Tish, you got to go to jail, of course, after having your due process. We're not Marxists around here. We believe in the rule of law. It is not just Tish James. We feel the same way, as does Trey Gowdy, about John Bolton, who, right before or right at the beginning of this weekend on Friday, after his indictment, showed up and entered a no guilty plea. What are the chances of John Bolton skating on this and getting away with it? Well, let's check in with the experts.
Yeah, all right, I'm going to ask you both an exit question. Trey, how does this play out?
He is convicted and he spends the remainder of his natural life in the custody of the Federal Bureau of Prisons.
Wow, that's a prediction.
Yeah, he's going to be one of the first of many. which may also include Tish James, James Comey, etc. But between these two, according to Trey Gowdy, which one has the most likelihood of satisfying our sense of justice?
How about Letitia James, as long as you're dispelling all this good news for people that believe in justice?
Well, I think the facts in Bolton's case are stronger than the other two.
So according to Trey Gowdy, if you are looking at Bolton and you're looking at Tish James, one of them is going to jail for the rest of their natural lives. I hope it's both, just because, remember, no one is above the law. All right, what I want to do here on the first part of this report is show you clips I think it's good to see for yourself. And I want to show you this clip. Cara Castronuova, she is absolutely awesome at the Gateway Pundit. And she actually surprised the Mockingbird Media Muppet Marxist press that don't ask tough questions, and President Trump himself and Zelensky with this question during the bilateral meeting in the White House. This was a direct question that she asked Zelensky during this press, with the press there at the White House on Friday. Check this out.
But to meet that deal, both sides had to make concessions. Our president has stuck out his neck in many ways to make a peace deal for your war as well. What specific concessions are you willing to make to end this war with Russia? Will you give up joining NATO? Americans have foreign war fatigue, and our president, as he said, we need our tomahawks too.
All right, Sister Castronuova, that was a great question. We have war fatigue. What concessions are you willing to make for there to be peace? It's always with Zelensky. We need this, we want this, we want this, we need this. Huffing and puffing, leaving when he doesn't get his way. But what are you willing to give up to end this war? President Trump has stuck his neck out. He has done more than his fair share, Zelensky, for your country. What are you willing to do? We Americans have foreign war fatigue. And I love President Trump's reaction to Cara Castronuova's question. Listen.
To me?
Yes, you, President Zelensky.
Thank you very much.
That's some question, right?
So many questions in one. Thank you very much for your question. First of all, I think we need to sit and speak. The second point, we need ceasefire.
President Trump, that's some question. Yeah, it was some question. The answer is this muck basic Zelensky talking points, security guarantees, etc. But I just thought it was awesome. I think it's awesome that we actually have journalists asking President Trump, asking people real questions that aren't just like TDS and MSM Democrat talking points. So bravo. I kind of got a chuckle out of that when I watched it the other day. You know what else made me chuckle? It made me chuckle out of nervousness because, quite honestly, it was cringy. And that is this tweet from George Conway, the ex-husband of Kellyanne Conway, one of my favorite people to cover during President Trump's first term. Remember, she was with him during the campaign, helped him get elected, and was one of his advisors and counselors and spokespersons during his first presidency, during his first term as president. We don't have her around anymore. She had a real mess. Literally was working for President Trump, and her husband at home was part of this entire Republicans against Trump movement. The crazy thing about to show you here is not just what George Conway did that's super cringy, but the fact that he actually tweeted it out. I got my hands on a megaphone. He tweeted this out. This was his contribution to the No Kings event. I mean, the sad thing is that he actually tweeted this. He actually posted this. This is freaking cringy.
Hey, Donald J., how many kids did you start today? Hey, Donald J. Hey, Donald J., how many kids did you start today? Hey, Donald J., how many kids did you start today? Hey, okay, that's it. Use these? Yeah.
Hey, Donald J., how many kids did you starve today? Isn't it President Trump that with the shutdowns that happened, he made sure that WIC was still funded? Women, infants, and children? Is that women, infants, children? Anyway, as I reported, 41% of infant children are dependent on the WIC program, supposedly, for nutrients and for food. So it doesn't even make any sense. Not only is it cringy, doesn't make any sense. No one participated. He portrayed himself to be the dumbass that he is. But at the end of the day, this is the exact opposite. President Trump made sure that even though the Democrats shut down the government, that 41% of the infants and children on WIC still got funding for that program. Absolutely ridiculous. So since we're talking about the shutdown, when is this damn shutdown going to end? Well, we have this report from the Epoch Times this weekend, when government could reopen, key dates to watch. I mean, we are now 19 days into this, and there seems to be no opening. There's an impasse. You've got the Democrats saying that they want to reverse everything that was put in the One Big Beautiful Bill, and they are not going to budge until that happens. They won't reopen the government. And then you have John Thune saying, you know, we won't negotiate under pressure. Actually, let me show you this tweet that he had on Friday. I'm not sure how much clearer I can be. Let me give it a try. I'm willing to sit down with Democrats to discuss the growing unaffordability and unsustainability of Obamacare. It's a system they created, but I'm happy to hear them out. Heck, I'm even willing to give them a vote. Today, tomorrow, next week, you name it. But there's one condition: end the Schumer shutdown. I will not negotiate under hostage conditions, nor will I pay a ransom, period. So we have an impasse here. Folks. This is one of the longest in modern U.S. history now that we're going into its third week. The Democrats aren't moving. They don't want to reopen it because they say it must go hand in hand with extending the healthcare subsidies. And as I just read you from Majority Leader John Thune, it's not going to happen under these hostage situations, as he calls them. Now, some key dates here. We know that October 15th was one that I had reported on previously, so that our men and women in uniform can get paid. Well, they took care of that, but that is just a Band-Aid, so they were able to go past that October 15th. But on October 24th, more than 2 million federal workers will miss their first full paycheck. Now, of course, they will be technically guaranteed back pay, but of course, if you don't currently have any income right now, that puts a financial strain on your family. We, of course, still have the air traffic controllers that are working without pay. And then the other date that is a second flashpoint is October 31st, 2 weeks later, when over 1 million active duty service members are going to face uncertainty for their next paycheck. Okay? Trump and his administration used roughly $8 billion in leftover Pentagon research funds to cover the military pay on October 15th. But that funding maneuver cannot be repeated, according to some lawmakers. President Trump has also said that he can tap into the tariff money that he's collected. So it may be able to extend past the 31st without our servicemen and women having to make a sacrifice of not getting paid. But we shall see. Now, Thune does have a bill, according to some media reports, that would pay U.S. troops and accepted employees, those that still have to work during the shutdown. But it's probably not going to go anywhere because the Democrats won't sign off on it. They won't join the Republicans in this. So for the time being, it looks like we have no date to reopen the government, especially if President Trump is able to fund our troops again at the end of the month. Speaking of our troops and military action, we've got this from President Trump on Saturday, another attack on a narco-terrorist water vessel. President Trump truthing out: "It was my great honor to destroy a very large drug-carrying submarine that was navigating towards the United States on a well-known narco-trafficking transit route. U.S. intelligence confirmed this vessel was loaded up with mostly fentanyl and other illegal narcotics. There were 4 known narco-terrorists on board the vessel. 2 other terrorists were killed. At least 25,000 Americans would die if I had allowed the submarine to come ashore. The 2 surviving terrorists are being returned to their countries of origin, Ecuador and Colombia, for detention and prosecution. No U.S. forces were harmed in this strike. Under my watch, the United States of America will not tolerate narco-terrorists trafficking illegal drugs by land or by sea. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America," and an unclassified video showing the strike. Now, folks, that's not the only thing that we got released this weekend. flying under the radar because the Democrats and their mockingbird media don't want you to see this was right as we went into the weekend, we got transcribed interviews having to do with the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell cases. Specifically, the Oversight Committee released the Acosta transcripts, the transcripts of Alex Acosta's transcribed interview as part of its review of the federal government's handling of the Jeffrey and Ghislaine cases, which debunks the Democrat talking points of Epstein and Trump and proves what President Trump was talking about, that at least this portion of the Epstein case was a Democrat hoax. Let's get into this. So here's a reminder about who Alex Acosta is. He is the former U.S. attorney who was investigating and part of the prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. And he also served as President Trump's labor secretary during his first term. Okay. He was the one who infamously negotiated the sweetheart plea deal for Epstein in his first prosecution in 2008. This is what the Oversight Committee had to say. Bombshell. The Acosta transcript just destroyed the Democrats' Epstein-Trump smear. Ranking member Garcia and Oversight Dems have spent months pushing a lie against President Trump. Here are the receipts they don't want you to see. So here we go. Number one, Acosta never talked to President Trump or Citizen Trump about Epstein. Not in person, not on the phone, not over email. As we can see on page 65, straight from his testimony, we can see, did you ever speak to Donald Trump generally? Acosta says, I did not. So you never, the entire time you were U.S. attorney, you never once spoke to Donald Trump. The entire time, let me be more clear. I did not speak with President Trump, with Donald Trump before I was considered for Secretary of Labor. Thank you. He says, you never had a phone conversation or also just a meeting, never a phone conversation, any kind of conversation with Donald Trump before? I did not have in-person conversations. I did not have a phone conversation. Email, we hadn't even shaken hands. What about any of his associates? Email, text, any of that? No email to my recollection, no text to my recollection, no associates to my recollection. He moved in circles that I did not move in, to be honest. Okay, so let's move on to the second thing that's been revealed. Trump's name did not appear in the Epstein case. Now, as I go through the transcript, you're going to see that one Democrat in particular was really trying to implicate President Trump in this with her line of questioning, and that is Melanie Stansberry. She is the Democrat out of New Mexico, and she is on the committee. She's on the Oversight Committee. Okay, so this is her and her line of questioning. We can see here, Stansberry asks Acosta a follow-up question. Over the course of your engagement at the Department of Justice, did you ever see any document in which Donald Trump's name appeared with regards to the Epstein case? Acosta says, not to my recollection. Stansberry asks, were you aware that Donald Trump was friends with Epstein? Acosta says, I have no recollection of Donald Trump associated with this investigation in any way, shape, or form. Ms. Stansberry again, but is it possible that they did based on their relationship? Ms. Acosta, I have no knowledge that any person spoke to Donald Trump with respect to Epstein. I have no knowledge of Donald Trump's name appearing in any Epstein document. I have no knowledge of Donald Trump being associated with Epstein investigation. I think if there was, I think it's pretty spectacular it hasn't leaked by now. Which, of course, is the common sense approach. If there was anything associating President Trump with Epstein, besides a few pictures and them running in the same circles, anything damning, it would have come out a long time ago. The weaponized FBI and DOJ of Biden, aka Obama 3.0, would have totally used that to put President Trump in prison, in jail, disqualify him, or have his base turn against him. But there's no there. But that's not all. There's more information. Let's go back to the Oversight Committee. Number 3, did Trump... Oh, my voice is cracked there. Is this late stage puberty? Am I 51 or 15? I don't know today, folks. I don't know. Did Trump appoint Acosta because of Epstein? No, not in the least bit. We can see that from page 124 of the transcript. Did Trump ask Acosta to resign? No, he says it was my choice. It was not suggested by anyone at the White House that I resign. Okay, so that was an entire talking point fabricated by the Democrats. Why did he resign? Acosta says, the resignation was my choice. I resigned from the position. And let me just say, I was not asked to resign. It was not suggested by anyone that I resign at the White House. He says the reason why he resigned was that it's special and a privilege to serve. And if you become a distraction, that is not appropriate for you to serve in these jobs. So I made a decision. I called the White House and asked to speak to the president. I told him that I thought it was time for me to move on. I did not want to be a distraction to his administration, and I chose to resign. And of course, like all the operatives, Ansari asks Alex Acosta if he had ever discussed the Epstein investigation or Jeffrey Epstein with Donald Trump prior to his confirmation. And Mr. Acosta, Alex once again says, no, I had not. Now, I want to delve a little bit into what Alex Acosta said about the work release. Remember, part of the sweetheart deal that Jeffrey Epstein got was that he got work release. He was able to not be incarcerated and be able to work and be in an office environment for several hours during the day. Alex Acosta makes it very, very clear that that was something that the state did, that they opposed, and that they were under the understanding that he would be under continuous incarceration. Let's go to the transcript. Mr. Acosta's asked, Mr. Epstein was permitted to work release while serving his sentence. Is that correct? Acosta says, we had assurances on multiple levels that it would be, quote unquote, continuous confinement. And he says the state of Florida turned out to be an unreliable partner because they had assurances that he would be in continuous confinement, and they were told multiple times that that would be the case. And then he goes on to say that that was the Palm Beach Sheriff's decision, and that when the U.S. Attorney's Office had found out, they had objected to it. They objected to it in writing, and they objected to it fully. But it all happened under the authority of the state by decision of the by the Palm Beach Sheriff's decision. Okay. Then he goes on. He says because the idea of work release was something that none of them had contemplated, and had they known that he was going to get work release, they would not have gone forward, because we would have contemplated because what they had contemplated was continuous confinement. At the end of the day, he says, of course, things in hindsight is 2020. But he said for them at the time, it was a big deal for him to go to jail and have him register and tell the world, look, I am a SE to the X offender. And that was a big win for them. As far as the girls involved in this case, he says in their office, they considered all the victims as victims. Quote, no one in our office ever thought that the victims were anything less than victims. And he said the trial was a crapshoot, and they just wanted the guy to go to jail. That's what they were looking at the time. So the bottom line, the reason why they did the plea deal in the first place, it didn't go to trial, is because they just wanted him to go to jail. And the plea deal was about getting him in jail and not taking him to trial and risking him getting let off completely. Now, of course, the Democrats know all of this, and they lie anyway, don't want people to understand what's really going on with Epstein. And so there you have it. But let's just get to the bottom line here, as outlined by the Oversight Committee. There was no contact between Trump and Acosta, and there's no link between Trump and Epstein in the case. Democrats are once again using a tragic situation to score political points at the expense of victims. And the entire transcript has been released on the Oversight and Government Reform Committee's website at oversight.house.gov. Now, here on this side of the pond, I don't care. I don't know. Now, we here on this side of the pond, I don't know how many of you care about the UK and the royal family and titles and dukes and duchesses and all that good stuff. But one person who is still feeling the heat because of Epstein, as I reported earlier, totally lied. Actually, it was on my other show, actually, I reported on this. But he got caught in a lie, and the royal family was stuck. They had to do something. That's what I reported on my other show. And looks like, well, someone has resigned their titles over this whole Jeffrey Epstein mess. It's happened. After decades of public humiliations and scandals, the younger brother of British King Charles III has finally thrown in the towel. Going into this weekend, Prince Andrew announced that he is giving up his titles, including the Duke of York. BBC reporting this and giving the juicy details. Prince Andrew is giving up his titles, including the Duke of York. He announced in a personal statement he has been under increasing pressure over his links with offender Jeffrey Epstein, with calls for Buckingham Palace to take action against him. Now that seems to have resulted in the prince deciding to involuntarily hand back his titles and give up membership to the Order of the Garter, the oldest and most senior order of chivalry in Britain. Here is the official statement, the official royal communication. In discussion with the king and my immediate and wider family, we have concluded the continued accusations about me distract from the work of His Majesty and the royal family. I have decided, as I always have, to put my duty to my family and my country first. I stand by my decision 5 years ago to stand back from public life. With His Majesty's agreement, we feel that I must now go a step further. I will therefore no longer use my title or the honors which have been conferred upon me. As I said previously, I vigorously deny the accusations against me. Of course, he's going to vehemently deny all of this. I mean, because it's totally normal for a member of the royal family to be photographed with an underage girl in the presence of someone who's currently in prison for providing underage girls to men for pervy, age inappropriate, and illegal activity. That's right, Prince Andrew. We were all born just yesterday. That concludes this report, folks. Please do me a mighty solid. Make sure that you hit this like button before you go. Share this on social media. The Democrats don't want this story to get out. And do me a big favor. If you want to continue being notified of my uploads and live streams, let's be honest, it's hit or miss, but it's been hitting lately. So make sure that you hit that notification bell. And check out my other show over at bcpextras.com and therealbcp.com. Links to everything are down below. Until the next one, ciao, goodbye. Please receive a big hug and God bless.